Hello, today I thought we'd just stop and have a little bit of a life catch up. So here I am, sat in my back room with my cup of coffee, and I thought we'd have a bit of an update. So, welcome back to the Frugal Granny channel. My name's Ali and I'm Frugal Granny. I'm a 65-year-old semi-retiree trying to do the best with what I've got until I get my state pension at the end of July 2027. I left my career ladder job in June last year, having already spent 4 months at home. And I'm now over a year in to being at home, and I must admit, I really like it. Anyway, before we go any further, I'm just going to give you a quick tour around the garden. The sun's out this morning, and I thought it would be an ideal opportunity to show you what the garden looks like now things are beginning to wake up after our very, very long, wet, grey winter here in the UK. Talking about vegetable gardens, everything's beginning to wake up after a very long wet winter. There's Belle's on the path. So funny seeing her there. It used to be Kitty. I still find it quite difficult. I also called her Kitty this morning. Yeah, anyway, let's just have a quick look at the garden before I've done anything to it. This is the corner where I'm keeping a lot of deciduous shrubs. I'm not sure whether I'm going to rehome them. The plants in the pots are some rosemary cuttings I made last year, which will replace my old rosemary bush. And on the right there is the small white buddleia, which is going to stay there for now. There's some rescue primulas on the windowsill, and my Victoria plum is in the big pot at the back. But the other 5 pots, I'm not sure if I'm going to be keeping those. I put them in 2 summers ago into the vegetable beds because I had given up on vegetables. I was so disgusted by the lack of harvest for the amount of effort. I thought, right, I'm going to make a white garden. So those are all white flowering shrubs, but after a year of calming down, I decided to go back to vegetables. So those bushes may get rehomed. The back bed is still full of curly kale. Excuse me, Belle's is barking at someone. It's a lovely day and people are outside, and I think she objects to that. But the kale's starting to flower now, and I don't waste the flower tips of curly kale. I actually pinch those out and put them in stir fries, or if the stalk's a bit longer, I do use them like broccoli. But I will keep using these leaves for quite a long time yet. Then in the back bed, I've got my rhubarb plants. I keep thinking I've lost a rhubarb plant, but I don't think I have. I can now see 4 shooting. These green things bottom left are yellow poppies, and they're going to have to come out. I did have strawberries all round here last summer, but I pulled those out, so I'm going to see if I can replace those from runners from one of the other beds. And there's the fig tree. Lots of promise on there for this summer. Lots and lots. That's wonderful. Then this is the front bed. There's still a bit of purple sprouting broccoli there. There's a lot of rubbish in this bed. It needs totally digging over. But one of the blessings of leaving things be for a while is that you can see it just to the left of that purple sprouting broccoli. There's a lemon balm plant has self-seeded itself, so I'm going to be saving that one. And back on the other side of the garden there's a tray of rescued cowslips. They were literally flat and brown and dead, and I rescued those, brought them home and watered them, and they're now beginning to thrive. And there's a white fuchsia there that I've kept over the winter in one of my plant houses. This is the second fig tree here. It's got a couple of primordial figs on it, which will hopefully ripen this summer, and I'm hoping that next year will be even better with this one. And in the front bed, I've cut the blackberry right back. There's some Chinese chives, self-seeded nigella, 2 lavenders and an oregano. And here's Belle's. I'm recording over all of this because she was barking loudly at someone who was out in their back garden speaking very loudly, which they're perfectly entitled to do. And here is my kitchen rug, which I've washed and is drying. 4 geraniums out of 6 that I've managed to get through the winter. And this is the plant house where my seeds will be going when I've sown them. And I've got one more tub of wood to split for kindling. There's the rug again drying, and a panoramic, I can't say it, panoramic view of the garden. You can see how green the path is due to the wet winter, so I need to get the pressure washer out and get that all cleaned up. And then I think we're going to cut back to Belle's. So I've now managed to tidy out the shed and get the things in there that my youngest son left behind. At the bottom there's the bit of industrial machinery, and then I've managed to stack all of those plastic boxes on top. A couple of bits that belong to my other son, and the half-price barbecue charcoal I got at the end of last summer. The firewood section is now really just limited to the back wall, and it's actually cut my firewood storage by half. But as I said, I'm probably going to stack some firewood outside for next winter. That there is my portable wood stove. It has collapsible legs, and the chimney's just there stacked in that corner. Yeah, I've got some shelving off to the right, which you don't really need to see. Yeah, so there we are. It's all done. There's some eggshells in that bag to deter slugs from my vegetable garden. Right, I hope you enjoyed looking around the garden and having a quick peek into the wash house. I can't remember who it was who wanted to see into the wash house once I'd put the storage boxes in there, but you can see them there now. And the fact the storage boxes are in the wash house signifies the fact that my 3-room shuffle, because I was shuffling things around 3 bedrooms, that's now over. My room is now my own again. The spare room, or the second bedroom, is now usable for guests again, and my daughter's going to be coming to stay with me for a week in April. Quite a funny thing happened with that room this week. I went in there to air it out a little bit on the first sunny day that we had, and there was a very strange smell in there, and we figured out in the end that it was the washing pods that I had moved from another location into the wardrobe in that room to store them, and the scent from the washing pods was building up in the room and giving an almost hot varnish sort of smell. And I tried initially to open the window to get rid of the smell, but it didn't work. So I think it was yesterday I moved all the washing pods out into the wash house, funnily enough, and opened the window in the spare room, and the washing pod smell has now gone. Yeah, so it does make you wonder sometimes what they're putting in these things, that they can emit that sort of smell that builds up in an enclosed space, because I do keep the door to that room shut, and I only open the window in the winter when it's sunny, because next door's cat has got a habit of climbing up and into my house through that window if I leave it open, so I have to be very, very careful about that. But anyway, that little problem has been solved. The spare washing pods have gone out into the wash house. I've got my own room back, and the attic bedroom is now allocated for the use of my middle son when he's here. He's between flats at the moment. It's been very, very hard for him to find affordable accommodation, so he's sort of coming and going at the moment, and so that upper room is now his. In my room, that just leaves the desk area to sort out now. I want to go through the filing cabinet, tidy that out, and update my my file for if anything happens for me, so the kids know where everything is. I do need to spend a few days just going through that. And the other thing that's happened in respect of admin is that the Microsoft trial period for Microsoft Office on my new laptop has expired. They want me to pay money, which I don't want to do. So I can get into my Excel spreadsheet on my memory stick, but I can't amend it at all. So I need to get my old laptop out, the one that shows everything in pink and yellow with green stripes, and open that spreadsheet and put it into Google Sheets so that I can manipulate it going forward. So that's another job that needs doing. I was hoping that when the Microsoft Office trial ended, I would still be able to download and use the student Microsoft Office package that I bought in 2019, but I think because it's on Microsoft 10, not Microsoft 11, and there's now no support for Microsoft 10, it won't install properly. So I think I'm going to have to move away from that spreadsheet now and start again. But the timing is perfect in a sense, because we're coming up to a new tax year. I can make a new spreadsheet and put the past behind me and just move forward, not worrying about what's gone before, but just looking towards what's coming. But I do need to get into that spreadsheet to do my tax return, so I do want to get that onto Google Drive as soon as I can, so that I'm not completely frozen out of it. But hopefully I'll have a little bit of time tomorrow to try and sort that out. It shouldn't take too long. So now that I've done my 3-room shuffle, the next thing that's bearing on my mind is giving the house a thorough clean. With the sunshine that we've got at the moment, suddenly every cobweb, bit of dust and every little mark and scuff is beginning to show. And especially when you live in a house like mine that is mainly neutral and white, with the interior decor, dust and splatters and goodness knows what, they do show up terribly when the sun comes out. And I'm just sat in here at the moment looking at the dust that's accumulated behind the log basket next to my wood stove, and that probably means I need to move the upright deep freezer in the corner and get down the sides of the dresser. Yeah, so some serious spring cleaning is going to be happening over the next month. And having got out into the garden and had a look at that, I need to weed those beds, and I also need to get my vegetable seeds planted, and I need to pressure wash the path and the patio. So there's a whole new round of jobs coming up, most of which are seasonal. So yes, everything's going to plan really. This week I have done 6 shifts at the supermarket. Well, I will have done by tomorrow. Contracted for 4, so I've had 2 overtime shifts, but it does mean I've worked 6 days. I will have worked 6 days in a row. So I'm really looking forward to a day off tomorrow. As far as I can see, I've done enough overtime now in March to compensate for the fact that February's YouTube income was down, because I get paid for February's YouTube income at the end of March. I get paid for the March supermarket work at the end of March. So those two things will coincide and balance each other out. And the way things are looking for March with YouTube means that I don't need to worry so much about doing overtime in April. I've got my daughter coming to stay in April, so I don't want to be doing any overtime the week she is here. And Easter falls in April, and we've got a family birthday in April, so I'm really hoping to pull back from doing some overtime in April and just catching up with stuff in the house, catching up with family, and yeah, just appreciating, the change of the seasons, the lengthening days, and hopefully a little bit of sunshine. So all's going well at the moment. I think the only other thing I need to do is finalise my utilities budget for the new tax year. I have now had my council tax letter, and as predicted from what I had seen on the website, it has gone up 5%. And looking at my budget as it is at the moment, I can accommodate that. I'm still not sure what's going to happen with my energy bill, because I had a letter to say that prices were going down and they would adjust my bill accordingly. So there may be some movement with the energy bill, but I'm expecting that to go down rather than up. So at the moment, I am anticipating that the £500 a month I put into my utilities account will cover the utilities going forward. The point I think I need to really watch things is when we get to July, because that's when energy prices are likely to go up. It's also when my internet provider contract runs out, and that is likely to go up, though I'm going to try and negotiate with them. So for me, I think April is not going to be the big challenge in terms of utilities, but the second quarter of the new tax year is when I need to be paying attention, and that's also when I need to pay my buildings and contents insurance. Which reminds me that the one thing I have done this week is go online with my insurance provider and add accidental cover to my contents, because I don't know if you remember back in September, October, when my laptop broke, and when my youngest son's laptop broke because Bella broke it, I rang up my insurers and they told me I wasn't covered for accidental contents damage. And I honestly thought that I'd ticked that box when I'd renewed last time, but I hadn't. So while I was going through things a few days ago, I decided to just go on there and see how much it would cost to add accidental cover for contents, even though it's just for the last 3 or 4 months. I mean, anything can happen in 3 or 4 months. And it was £7.48, so I thought, I'm not going to miss that. I just took it out of my housekeeping for that week, and that's done. So I'm going to remember to make sure I renew with accidental contents cover this next time around. So yeah, the real biggie though in terms of finance has been the car. I decided last weekend, after I'd spoken to you, that I was going to get it mended sooner than later, because it cut out 4 times last weekend. Once at an intersection or a crossroads traffic light with traffic lights, and I thought, this is not funny, because at the traffic lights that I go to regularly, people are not considerate. They jump the lights all the time. You know, people who should wait for the next green light tend to jump the light just after it's changed. And I thought, I do not want my car to cut out and to be side slammed by somebody who's just taken a jump. So I didn't drive it on Monday, I think. I didn't drive it on Monday or Tuesday. I took it into the garage on Wednesday. That's when the earliest they could take it. And they've replaced the power steering pump. I also asked them to replace the plexiglass on the rear driver's side indicator and brake light, because somebody's come round the corner of my street and taken that out. That happened quite a few weeks ago, and I only noticed it recently because my youngest son pointed it out. And I thought, if I want to take the car into the car wash or get it pressure washed, I really need the electrics in that corner of the car sealed. I don't want water to be getting in there. So I asked them to mend that too, and to take a look at the brakes, because the brake warning light was beginning to come on as well. So that's all been done, and I picked the car up last thing on Thursday, and that was £521 and I think 38 pence, which is £100 or £90 more. £90 more. He told me 430 for the just for the pump, but I did ask them to look at the light, do the light, and look at the brakes. So that was the extra 90. So I've put that on my credit card, and as I think I said last Thursday, I've got 430 in my car sinking fund, and if I need to find another 90, that would ostensibly be the money I was willing to throw at that click and collect shopping basket. Though with the code and everything, it would have come down to nearer 60, but that's beside the point. So that online shopping basket's not going to be happening, but the notional money that I would have thrown at that is going to go to pay the rest of the car bill. And in actual fact, when we get to the beginning of April, because I'm doing that sort of snowball with topping up my sinking funds, that extra £90 will actually come from the money I would have put in my emergency fund. So one way or another, my car fund is now going to be back to zero, and I need to work hard to top that up now, because I'm going to have to do my MOT in August. So that gives me April, May, June and July, 4 months. So hopefully, all going well, I potentially could have £800 back in that fund by August. So £100 a month anyway, and then £100 a month from my emergency fund, which I'm redirecting into the car fund at the moment. But then in between now and then, I've also got Bella's spay. So in a sense, the vet fund is also a priority at the moment, and that's going to take a bit of a hit, because they said about 300. I think I've got about 300 or 400 in there at the moment. Yeah, so there's quite a lot of stuff coming up, but it's all good. It's all good. I'm feeling quite positive about things at the moment, especially now the winter's over, we'd like to think, and we're moving into a new season in more senses than one. Yeah, it's been a time of quite a lot of upheaval and change. And the other person that's making really good progress is Belle's, my rescue pug. You can't see her at the moment. Oh, pop it, but she's actually sat on my knee. Oh, you're sitting up now because you heard your name. I was like, just that's it, just snuggle back down again. I mean, 6 months ago, this would not have happened. She would not have sat on my knee. She does not like being picked up. She cowers when you go to pick her up. Or she did. Now she's starting to jump up and ask. And she would not sit on a knee at all. But this morning, here she is, cuddled up on my knee while I talk to you. Nice and warm and cosy. You're such a good girl. Yeah, so I've had her 6 months now, and they do say that it takes 6 months for a dog to settle into its new environment and totally chill and realise that it's home. And I think she does. And one thing I will say about Belle's is she's highly intelligent. I really have noticed that it doesn't take her long to learn what household patterns are and to anticipate. When I come out of the kitchen and she comes with me, she knows, well, she knows to anticipate whether we're going to go left into the front room and sit down or go right and up the stairs to my room. And she seems to know which it's going to be. And I don't know whether it's the time of the day or something I say or what, but she knows, and she's very, very clever. Very clever, right, you Poppet? Though she still gets a bit nervous when we go in the car. I still think we had a bit of a thing earlier this week when we got in the car and she started shaking, and I think she was a little bit worried that, you know, she was going to be dropped off to a new owner, because that's how I got her. You know, she would have got in the car with her old owner and thought they were just going out for a nice drive, and then she ends up being given to a stranger in a pub car park. It's not going to happen to you again, Poppet. It really, really isn't. You're home now. Yes, you are. You're home now. Yeah, so she's doing really, 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 really well. She is. But anyway, I think that's about it from me in terms of life update. I'm certainly not regretting leaving my office job. So far, I've managed to make ends meet. There's not really been any major emergencies that I've not been able to counter or overcome. The last few months have been a challenge, what with all the upheavals and the dark, cold, wet weather, but we're through that now. So I'm looking forward to a new season, really. And I'm coming up to a year, I think, with YouTube. I'm just trying to remember when I actually started YouTube. I'm not sure if it was the middle of April or the middle of March, but it is nearly a year. And when we get to that point, I will have a 1 year reflective on my first year on YouTube, as content creators tend to do. But it's been an incredible 12 months, and thank you for those of you who've, come along with me. And I do hope you'll hang in there. We've got at least another 18 months till at least another, let me see, April, May, June. We've got another 16 months till 16 months and a week until I get my state pension. So a lot can happen in that time. I do hope that you'll keep watching and see how I'm getting on. So I'm just going to sit here and enjoy a nice little cuddle with Belle's while I edit this video, and I'll talk to you again on Monday. I'm not sure what we're doing for Magazine Monday yet. I have been completely focused on just getting through this week with all the extra shifts and what with the car and various other things. And tomorrow I'm going to have a rest. It's Sunday. There was an overtime shift going, but I decided no, I'm not going to take it, because it would have meant I would have ended up doing 10 days in a row, and I think that is just far too much. So tomorrow is going to be a home day, a catch-up day, and then we will get back to it again on Monday, hopefully with something interesting for you for Magazine Monday. But anyway, until then, thanks for stopping by for a little bit of a chat, and I'll see you again soon. Enjoy the sunshine wherever you are. Thank you for watching. Bye bye now.